far, quite the long drive.
I'll go visit your kids. I'm very sure that your kids will love all the changes we've done to Tvwan.
That's a 15-hour trip, Mona. I'm coming with you.
The martial arts have been practiced for centuries. Forged out of an ancient Asian world of mayhem and intimidation. But in fact, they're all about self-defense, discipline, and honor. This is XMA, the world of extreme martial arts.
Watch Extreme Martial Arts, only on Fight Sports.
I've done over 13,000 autopsies, and right now the body tells us something's wrong here.
You realize it's maybe not an accident?
The body's reaching out to you, saying, look closely, I died at the hands of someone else.
Every body has a story.
Are these lacerations due to striking or with an object, or is it due to a fall?
People are crying for justice from the grave.
Tell me how I died.
And welcome. This is Midday News. Thanks for joining us. After returning to office, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order that put almost all international spending on pause for a 90-day review. Significantly affected is the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, whose budget is spent on health programs for countries that include Papua New Guinea. In PNG, USAID's significant support goes towards providing essential medication for patients living with HIV. Foreign Affairs Minister Justin Tichenko has outlined that he hopes U.S. support can continue. However, the government has already been looking to undertake long-term alternatives should the U.S. government completely withdraw support through USAID.
I've already been alerted about the shortage of medicine for antiviral medicine for HIV patients throughout Papua New Guinea, and we hope that common sense prevails. Or we have to look at alternatives. And already we're talking to the Australian government and others. Can't continually rely on other donor partners to assist us. We appreciate their help greatly. We appreciate their help. But the situation is that Papua New Guinea must be self-sufficient at the end of the day.
Motu Koita Assembly Chairman Daddy Toka Jr. has responded to the petition demanding an immediate conduct of Motu Koita Assembly elections. In 2023, the NCDC allocated 750,000 kina for the elections. Daddy Toka Jr. advised that this was insufficient as per the Electoral Commission. The cost of conducting the elections was 7 million kina, which was supposed to be allocated by the national government. The MKA chairman also mentioned that the electoral roll was not updated, causing delay of the elections. This is said is among other issues. MKA confirmed that Wednesday, 5th February 2025, 500,000 kina was approved to support the 2025 MKA elections, and they now await official directions from the PNG Electoral Commission regarding a confirmed MKA election dates for 2025. More of this to come at 6 p.m. news tonight. The result of the 2024 Corruption Perception Index, or CPI, have revealed that Papua New Guinea scores 31 out of 100. This was revealed by Transparency International during the launch of the CPI index yesterday in Port Moresby. The Corruption Perception Index is a report that scores countries and territories around the world that record perceptions of public sector corruption. The scores reflect the surveyed views of economic experts and business people, not the general public. Countries are scored on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being very clean and 0 being highly corrupt. The 2024 CPI index scores Papua New Guinea a low 31 out of 100, which reflects a high perceived risk of encountering corruption in interactions with the public sector in the country. The report was revealed by Transparency International PNG during the launch of the CPI index yesterday. TIPNG Chairman Peter Atsi said the country's CPI score paints a stark picture that despite pledge and sporadic efforts, PNG is not making a significant impact in the fight against corruption.
Corruption is significant in terms of the impact that it's having on our country. I think also you'll be aware that the fight against corruption is becoming harder.
Atsi said millions are still being stolen through various means, which robs the public and prevents them from accessing essential services such as quality education and health. It reduces economic and income opportunities and undermines trust in the government.
What we know and what you all know is that corruption is pervasive. It is through all of our society now. Think about it in terms of your own personal circumstance. Think about it in the conduct of policemen. Think about it in the lack of services that your nephews, nieces, uncles, aunties, mothers and fathers now don't receive as a result of the impact of corruption.
TIPNG CEO Ariane Kasman said the CIP index clearly shows that there is no effective process to combat corruption in PNG.
With our Pacific neighbours, the Pacific continues to face challenges with weak governance systems, which impose a great risk to investment. So it's not just for Papua New Guinea, but we are seeing a growing trend right across the region of what we call stagnation, where we are dropping or increasing by 1 point, 2 points, but we are not taking enough action to address the issue of corruption.
Meanwhile, ICAC Deputy Commissioner Daniel Bludge said failure to stop corruption may result in dire impacts on economic process and security concerns, among others.
The phrase status quo is often used in political discussions, legal contexts, and everyday conversations. But why should we accept the status quo when a country is plagued by systemic issues? Why should we accept stagnation when corruption steals from the mouths of our children and erodes our nation's future?
15 Papua New Guinea educators were farewelled yesterday in a special ceremony event as they departed for Australia under the PLUM scheme's Early Childhood Education and Care pilot program. These educators, each holding a Certificate 3 in ECEC, travelled to gain hands-on experience in Australian childcare centres while also supporting their families. Before beginning their placement in Catherine and Harley Springs, they will undergo 2 weeks of training in Darwin, funded by the Australian government. This preparation aims to equip them with the necessary knowledge and skills to excel in their roles.
In this pilot, which reflects the importance that we attach to getting palm numbers up from Papua New Guinea. It's a priority for the Papua New Guinea government. It's also a priority for the Australian government, and that's why we've chosen Papua New Guinea as the only country to participate in this pilot. I'd like to thank the LMU staff and the APTC staff for the care that they put into preparing you for your deployment.
Turning abroad, ancestral remains have begun their journey home from Australia to New Zealand after a handover ceremony in Canberra. Speeches at the National Museum of Australia acknowledged the long history of collecting and looting Indigenous remains by museums and academic institutions, but also recognized the substantial work now being done to right the wrongs of the past.
A long way from home, the remains of two Māori ancestors have begun their journey back to where they belong.
A sense of healing, reconnection, and joy actually. Joy that we were at this point where we're going home. They're coming home with us.
The skeletal remains were likely stolen from their home on Rekahu or Chatham Islands to the southeast of New Zealand between the late 1800s and the 1930s. They've been held in the National Museum of Australia in Canberra since 2022, but were originally part of the former Australian Institute of Anatomy's collection. After years of talks, custodianship and care of the ancestors has been officially transferred.
It's probably one of our most significant things that we can do to represent our people is to bring our karapuna home, our ancestors home. It is an absolute honour and privilege.
Research will be undertaken to determine how they ended up in Australia and who may have taken them.
It's really my job to give the bones back their stories and humanise that process before they go home.
They'll now be brought to the Museum of New Zealand, Te Papua, where they'll be held alongside hundreds of other Moriori. They'll stay there until it's determined the time is right for the ancestors to return to their home.
It's refreshing to know that there's institutions around the world that actively inform about the repatriation process.
Work is still ongoing to return dozens of remains from other institutions.
A collection of Dame Edna Haveridge iconic spectacles, dazzling dresses, rare books, and paintings from the late comedian Barry Humph's personal archive is going under the hammer in London. More than 200 items will be auctioned this week, offering fans a chance to own a piece of Australian comedy history. Bridget Rollinson takes a closer look at what's on offer.
Well, some of the sparkle that made Dame Edna Haveridge so special is being sold at auction here in London. And that, of course, includes many of those iconic and quirky glasses that she wore so well. A household name in Britain and Australia, Barry Humphries, who died in 2023 at the age of 89, was best known for his alter ego as the instantly recognisable character with purple hair, curly specs and sparkly frocks. And now the comedian's personal collection of art and rare books, as well as the Dame's extravagant attire, are up for sale. Amongst the items is a pair of Dame Edna's Sydney Opera House rhinestone glasses. They're estimated to go for around 3,000 Australian dollars.
Edna's glasses are hilarious, and Barry, I think, took a lot of care in designing them, and they were always quirky. But you also see the evolution of Dame Edna in the glasses. You see some quite pared back ones from the early days, right up to the megastar crazy creations dripping in rhinestones near the end of her career.
There's also a very early copy of The Importance of Being Earnest, inscribed by Oscar Wilde, and a 20th century painting by Australian artist Charles Conder, estimated to be around 600,000 Australian dollars. There's also special paintings by Barry Humphries himself.
I mean, several people have said to me that, people know Barry Humphries because of his comedic personas, but this is the other Barry Humphries and possibly the real Barry Humphries.
There are 241 items here belonging to the celebrated showman, which are expected to total around 8 million Australian dollars.
Back home in sports, Papua New Guinea international forward Jacob Alek-Winenke has named 3 players who caught his attention during the 2024 Pacific Championships and are set to find themselves playing for PNG in 2028. Following confirmation of an NRL team, the PNG squad will be heavily based on native players from the country.
While fans are well acquainted with the likes of Alex Johnson, Justin Olam and Xavier Coates, there are players from PNG who are unknown to fans but are likely to be the first few signings for the future expansion side. Following confirmation that the NRL's newest expansion team will be from Papua New Guinea, Alec says the squad's backbone will be locally based. After winning the Pacific Bowl for the second straight year against the Cook Islands and Fiji, Gold Coast Titans and Kumul forward Alec has named Morea, Sonny Wabo and Robert Matthews as 3 players that would fit perfectly into the NRL expansion team for 2028. Morea was named the 2023 QRL Cup Rookie of the Year. Alec heaped praise of the Morea's footy skills, especially his speed and footwork. Considering the backup to Morea, he said PNG's Hunters fullback Sonny Wabo also brings unique brand of attacking skill and defensive grit in the PNG team. Terry Longwood, TV1 Sports.
And that ends the news update. Join us at 6 tonight for the main news.